With every story, there is an origin. It has a beginning, the thing that kicks everything off. And of course, in most series, in terms of manga that is, it all commences with Chapter 1. That's where it all begins. And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is not really all that different. The strange journey embarks on a tale titled Phantom Blood, leading us with our first protagonist, Jonathan Joestar, the first JoJo. Now, the one thing that did make JoJo different is how its arcs are structured. At least from the top of my head, there's really no other series that has this unique format of having a set of characters be the story itself, and then just get rid of them eventually and slightly start over with a new cast. The closest thing that I can think of is that of the Star Wars franchise. It first started with Luke Skywalker and friends fighting against Darth Vader and the Republic. That's the first set of movies. Then we get the prequels, given more insight on what happened to get to that point. This time the focus being that of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And then in recent years, we jump way ahead to get to the, well, you know, the less we talk about them, the better. Raider! You get the idea. It's a separate group from before, but still carrying the overall narrative of the story and in the same universe, for now. The Persona series also follows the same structure, more or less. I mean, Igor is always going around place to place, and Philemon is a vagabond butterfly, so I guess that means something. Now, even though I did bring up Star Wars and Persona as examples in terms of how arcs are structured with the different casts of characters, the JoJo series is still a little meticulous about the order, at least. It all begins with Part 1, Chapter 1 of Phantom Blood. There's no getting around that. Part 1 is without a doubt the most important part of the series, because that's how you learn about the Joestar bloodline and its curse, Dio pretty much being the most influential figure in the series, and Speedwagon, it's where the Robert E.O. Speedwagon debuts in, and more importantly, the Speedwagon Foundation in later parts, and slowly building up to that real bizarre nature for the series. We go from Victorian vampires to down bad sociopath and serial killers and so on. With taking a look at the main character, Jonathan himself is the one who lays down the groundwork for the rest of the Joestars. You see that his sense of justice is something that's more or less inherited by the rest of the bloodline, and it's cool to see that. The process of the blooming villain Dio would become with his evil charm and how much of his control would spread, which was more prominent from Part 3, but you know, it's gotta start somewhere. It all starts here, and yes, I know, Part 1 is boring. Yeah, I get that. Quite frankly, it's not the most engaging part or arc, yeah. It does its job, and that's that. It doesn't go that deep with its characters or themes or settings when compared to future arcs. It's here to tell you how everything, or well, most things, later in the story lead back to Part 1 in some shape or form, or at least at the bare minimum within a domino effect. The slight dislike of Part 1 by most is what I truly believe to be from how brief the part was in general. It wanted to tell its story, and that was it. Afterwards, for the entire Bizarre Adventure, it constantly tries to take one step beyond, and it does so pretty well. If anything, due to its short nature, Part 1 can be seen as an ultimate prologue to the entire story. You guys know Dragon Ball Z. Of course you do. Now, just like what I said there, I specifically said Z, but not the complete Dragon Ball franchise. Most know Z, but surprisingly, some don't really even know about the original Dragon Ball, from either not really watching it or straight up just not knowing it. With Goku as a kid living out in bumfuck nowhere until he meets a teenage girl who tries to shoot him, he didn't die though, thus launched the story of Dragon Ball. Hell, we can even take the Star Wars approach and later learn that way before that, chronologically, there was Bardock first, the father of Goku. Which, granted, in the manga itself, he's just a name that does exist, and that's just about it. And depending on what iteration floats your boat about his origin, is up to you. However, if you want to disregard that, that's fine. At least know that the Dragon Ball is where everything starts for the story. To Z, to Super, or GT, and more. It just starts from Dragon Ball. Once again, the same applies to Phantom Blood, and for JoJo's Wild Plot, I would highly advise to to never skip parts. Please start from the very beginning. Now, I know some of you might be thinking or saying, well, yeah, you don't skip parts, like, why would you want to do that? Trust me, I've legit met some people who straight up just go to part 3, 4, or even all the way to part 5, Vento Arreo. And the worst of it, there are some who advise others to do so. You know who you are, please stop. Because when you do that, no surprise, you're going to be missing out on some pretty crucial details that would make the characters and story a lot better than you just jumping around because some bispectacle nerd on the internet told you to do so. Like, why are you just gonna jump to Stardust Crusaders and not learn about Joseph's adventures beforehand from Battle Tendency and with all the fun experience he got from that and more? Why? When people do that sort of thing, they're gonna question literally every little element imaginable and complain about how nothing makes sense. Oh wow, you skipped all the way to part 5 and don't really understand anything? It's almost like you missed out on nearly 450 chapters worth of material. Whose fault is that? At least be reasonable, watch it in order, finish it chronologically, and then ask genuine questions. Because that's one thing that I've noticed, that it's legit impossible to watch an end of a part from Stardust to Steel Ball and not have any questions. Like, I haven't met a single person who doesn't have at least one. It's crazy. I don't blame them though. With all of that in mind, this video is to shed light on the value and importance of Phantom Blood, the epic prologue that sets everything in motion for the future generations of the Joestar bloodline, as well as to serve as a PSA to never skip parts. It doesn't help anyone. For all of you Harry Potter nerds, you wouldn't start at book 3 or 4 and on, right? No, you wouldn't. Asking me what house I'm in, but buddy, I'm in Full House. Now leave me alone. Anyways, with that out of the way, that is pretty much the video on the importance of Phantom Blood, part 1 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't really think I can go any more in depth about it because, you know, again, Jonathan clearly speaks for himself and Dio is pretty much just the incarnation of evil, and then all small other details here and there. But yeah, it's pretty much just to say, hey, this is why part 1, like, is important. Never skip it, alright? That's pretty much what it comes down to. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You know what to do with all the links that I provide and everything of the sort. Stay safe out there. Thank you for watching. That's greatly appreciated, of course. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else you know what to do. Bye.
JoJo! No. It's too late. He's dead.